Hello everyone, I am Himadrija K, Assistant Professor of Vedavyasa Institute of Technology. Today I am here to present on the topic Introduction to Offshore Structures and Decommissioning of Offshore Structures. These are the contents of the presentation: Introduction and Types of Offshore Structures, Decommissioning of Offshore Structures, Steps involved in that, Alternatives, and the rig to reef method, and coming to the conclusion. The objective of this presentation is to give an idea of about the offshore structures and why it is important, and what is the process of decommissioning of offshore structures and its relevancy, and to make you familiar with the methods involved in decommissioning of offshore structures. So, my offshore engineering comes under this marine engineering. Marine engineering involves naval architecture, mechanical engineering, oceanographic engineering, and coming to this offshore engineering. So, offshore engineering is a engineering discipline which deals with the design and construction of the structures intended to work on an ocean environment. So that this offshore engineering is this constructional or design activities which involved in this ocean environment. So, what is offshore structures? So, offshore structures, as I explained, offshore engineering is the engineering field which deals with the structures in an ocean environment. And these offshore structures are these structures which is built on this ocean environment, mostly for this production and the transmission of energies, or we can say the production and transmission of electricity, petrol, diesel, or any other oils, gases, and other resources which are extracted by breaking down of hydrocarbons. So, why these offshore structures is relevant, or what is the need of constructing these offshore structures? Because we all depends upon these energies or oil or gas, electricity, any other source of energy. We are depends. Everyone is depends on a daily basis on these energies. So oil and gas plays most important material in addition to other natural resources which are available. So offshore structures are built for this purpose, or for the production and the transmission of these energy sources. So these are built and designed on a very risk path, since the environment which is building is ocean, and there is high risk on this design as well as construction activities. So that these one of the main objective is to make a good revenue or the good production of this energy sources. So only there are lot of rules and regulations, and one of among these is that only the structures are built if the revenue is positive, or the revenue after this construction is high, since this involves a lot of difficulties during construction design, as well as the cost involved in this is much high. So that these are mostly used if it is technically feasible as well as economically viable. These are considered for these constructions. So here is a diagram showing offshore structures and the transmission from this energies. So this is a offshore structures which is mostly used for the protection of rigs, and from these rigs the hydrocarbons components is taken out, and the initial refined works is done on this offshore structure itself. After that, these are taken into the land using a pipeline for the further refined works, and this petroleum oils or diesel is separated, and another by components like asphalt bitumen is also taken after the purification purpose. So each and every component is essential after the hydrocarbon breakdown. So these all can be used for the further energy production, and thus that's why we mostly use this, or we construct this offshore structures. So if the land area is near to these structures, we use pipeline. Otherwise, we use any other ships or barge for the transportation purpose. So these are the most important types of offshore structures, that is fixed platforms, complaint tower, and floating structures. So fixed platforms are the offshore structures that's constructed in a shallow depth of water or shallow depth of oceans, which is near to this land area, where the bottom is fixed on the bed of the ocean. So these are two types mostly used: concrete gravity platforms and steel template structures. And the next type is complaint tower. Complaint tower is mostly used for a depth of 300 to 600 meter, and which is used for the installation purposes of the cranes or another production materials for the production or drilling of this energy sources. So the next one is the floating structures. These structures are adopted only for the very large depth of water or very large ocean depth. So these are more than a 70 is used overall in this world, and this having a storage capacity and production as well as storage capacity is there. So this is floated on the surface, and this can be adopted on a very large depth. So this is a figure of floating structure. So as the name itself, decommissioning is the demolition of these offshore structures. So we have a confusion that we constructed, and why it is essential, or what is the importance of decommissioning method. Since this construction of these offshore structures involves in a aquatic environment or in a ocean environment which have a very huge number of aquatic lives. During this construction as well as on this operation period, there are lot of difficulties due to pollution, or there is lot of aquatic lives will get died due to this construction activities. Also, the revenue involved in this construction of offshore structures also include the scrap value and salvage value. This material used in this construction is of very high quality, so that we use this material as a scrap for the scrap value or salvage value after decommissioning of these structures. So these are the main two points for this decommissioning purpose that we need to follow. So these are the steps involved in decommissioning. As like the construction of offshore structures, decommissioning is also involves of huge number of steps, or we need to consider different points for the decommissioning of offshore structures. First, in the planning phase, planning itself starts from more than 5 years. There is so many legal procedure is also there. So in the planning phase, we consider about the lease of the equipments, sales agreement, drilling records, or the maintenance or inspections or records, or the any field inspections is all done under this planning stage. And as per the regulations and the rules, we have to obtain the permits of decommissioning of offshore structures, and it take a minimum of 3 years. And we have to remove the well, and the conductor has been removed by using mechanical or explosives, or using abrasive cuttings. The most important or the most commonly used abrasive cutting is diamond cutter, which is used for the cutting of these offshore structures. And we have to make this platform, or we have to remove the hydrocarbon content by flushing of these tanks, and processing equipments or piping must be flushed, and it is cleaned for the removal of residual hydrocarbons. And it can be decommissioned on a stepwise, like topside decommissioning at the first, and after that substructure is decommissioned and coming to the site clearance. So the removal selection process is depends upon the age of this offshore structure, water depth involved, and as per the laws and regulations, weather or the ocean environment, and the weight of the structure, and which type of platform, whether it is fixed or it is mobile, like that. So these are the three important decommissioning method, that is P small, P large, and single lift. In P small, the offshore structures are decommissioned with a weight of below 20 tons. We remove the platforms in a P small, very small size is taken, that is 20 tons is taken from or decommissioned from this structure, then it is called as P small. And the platform jackets are not suitable by this method, and platform jackets is taken on an entire basis or on a large basis, and this comes under P large basis. Here you can see these platforms is not much affected with any ocean environment, such that this can be used for further installation on any other offshore structure, or it can be used on the land for another purposes. So these all small areas or small weights is taken in a small pieces is called as small piece, and the large piece is where greater than 20 tons and it's having a potential of 5,000 tons. These are used for the lifting of steel jackets, and this is taken in a different modules of these portions of offshore structures and taken away and lifted to any barges for this further transportation to next slide. Here you can see it involves a 5,000 tons. So single lift is we are removing in a single unit. Just a single unit, it can be lifted up to 48,000 tons. Here you can see the figure. You can take it as a single unit cell. So here is a graph which showing a cost of decommissioning. So these are the different processes involved and the cost is also very high. So sometimes the decommissioning cost is much higher than the revenue that we got after the construction and operation period. We'll come up with some alternative methods. So these are some alternative methods. The alternative methods involves the reuse of these offshore structures by using for the power generation. Power generation can be from wind turbine or from this wave, from the energy from the wave itself. So in Gulf of Mexico, the new method is adopted, that is rigs to reefs. That's the next to discuss. So what is rigs to reef? From the name itself, from the rig area to a coral reef. As I already mentioned, this construction of offshore structures involves a huge pollution or the decrease in aquatic life and plants is there. So we have to bring back their life into normal, or we have to bring back that environment into normal. We use these structures to get there itself, and we use artificially, we plant or we involves the production of coral reefs such that this aquatic life will becomes into normal after several years. So this is now adopted in a point of environmental concern. So this is coming up with the new ideas of decommissioning methods or alternatives to decommissioning methods. So as per September 2012, about 10% of the decommissioned platforms is used or converted into reefs, so that the aquatic life brings to the normal state. So these are some methods that used before rigs to reefs method, that is stow and place. In this stow and place, we lift up this structure and place on a suitable area such that the aquatic life is most suitable, or we can say that it will help on the navigation purpose. If the navigation route is seamless on this way, we lift up this structure such that we will get a good navigation path. So another method is partial removal, such that it's cut on a partial basis and kept it there itself, so that the navigation will be easier, and also the coral reefs production is also helpful. And toppling, in which the explosives are used to topple the structure into the bed of this, and the coral reefs are plants on over here, so that the navigation routes also becomes clear. So coming to the conclusion is that offshore structures are a most important structure or the most important construction activity under civil engineering, and in which involves a lot of risk in design, construction, as well as in the decommissioning part itself. So we have to keep in mind in that we have to get a good revenue after this construction. Even after the decommission, we have to get a good revenue. Also, we have to find out the hydrocarbon contents. If the hydrocarbon contents is high, only these platforms can be adopted. So these have both positive as well as negative impacts. As I already mentioned, the construction and the operation involves a lot of pollution, navigation difficulties, and fishery production difficulties is there. At the same time, the developments is also happening, and researches is also happening for this good efficient utilization of these offshore structures on the future itself. So we have to keep this mind, legal, economical, as well as environmental concern. We need to keep in mind. So as I mentioned on the three types, in which fixed and compliant are more costlier than that of the floating structures, And the rig to reef is now a green decommissioning method, or the alternative to decommissioning method, which is now adopting in a larger basis. It is also offshore wind farm is a recent project which is coming as an alternative to this decommissioning method. So choice of the alternatives depends upon the type of offshore structures, its location and the depth of water. So these are all involved in this topic, and thank you for listening. Thank you all.